Hi guys, Biracial Tiffany here. I really have to start off by saying thank you to each and every one of my 1,052, at this moment anyway, subscribers. I just, again, really appreciate that from every single one of you. And I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. I did. So, today, I thought, well actually, the day that I made the Amy Grant video, later that night I made another video, sort of like reflections on the Amy Grant video, so I think I'll be putting some of that in here, like maybe 2 minutes of it are worthwhile.
I think it's really important for me, I mean obviously I guess from my sort of reaction to having the realization, to really look at that time when it would have been so much easier for me to be normal, which in the context of my life meant being white, and that didn't mean that I didn't love my mother or myself. A teenager just wants to be normal within the context of their life. I always stumble back upon the thought that I have some sort of safety net in my whiteness, that if everything bad about black people actually turned out to be true, all of the bad thoughts, feelings, stereotypes, ideas, whatever, that I had my whiteness to fall back on to make me not that. And I always think, I don't need that proof. That's just ridiculous. Yet I think when I look back to that time when I wanted to be normal, and normal was white, I did have that to fall back on. And what it sounds like that means is I thought, well, if that's true, then maybe, then I'm better than that because I'm white. But really, to me, and maybe that is what I thought at the time, I don't know. But what's important about that is what that thought actually allowed me, good or bad. There's a quote on this website about just, I guess, enhancing your creative thought process, your creative genius mindset. But something about this really struck me as being useful for our purposes here. Be creative is to have the capacity to think freely, openly, without limitations or constraints about problems and challenges. Creativity allows you to think outside of the box, around the box, and through the box in an imaginative and free-flowing manner. Okay, and so what strikes me about this, in terms of race, is that to be creative is to have the capacity to think freely, openly, without limitations or constraints about problems and challenges. And blackness, the stigma of blackness, does not allow one, can prohibit one from having the capacity to think freely, openly, without limitations or constraints about problems and challenges. You know, when I had the idea to start delving into all of this for my own self and looking at it from an angle of what's the difference if your mom is black or white, really my thought was that there's a limitation on you, that it comes with blackness, and you can definitely break out of it. You just be impervious to it. But you have to learn that, I think, because the messages you get everywhere are so strong that this is the truth. Life is short and life is good and anything is possible, and I think every human being has the right to know that inherently. And I think that comes along with whiteness. And I think that is something that is afforded by biracial people, being accepted by white people. I have always really been aware of my role in my life, I guess, but with the people that I encounter, to be the exception to what they perceive as the rule of blackness, because there is a one drop rule. And so really they're not they're not really thinking of me as one of them. They're thinking of me as one of the other that gets to be here for perhaps for this reason. And then just to by example and never by conversation be the antithesis of all that, or not the antithesis of it, but just, that's just not how it always is. And, maybe they find themselves surprised to include a black person amongst their inner circle. And I think that's progress. The reason why I talk about this is I think it would be nice if, biracial people, if we made ourselves known enough so that people would expect some whiteness to show up with us instead of being disappointed by it, instead of suspecting it, having their suspicions confirmed, and then being disappointed by the whiteness that they find in you, which really only probably, because I don't buy into talking white or acting white or listening to white music or whatever. I mean, I get what that is, but I don't buy into that as important. It's really all about my capacity to love white people. I love white people as I love black people, and that's not widely accepted in the black community, I think. So that's part of the problem.
Another thing I wanted to say, I was watching Rachel Maddow, or Maddow, but I think it's Maddow, on Conan O'Brien, and she was talking about being openly gay and all the, mail she gets from people, good and bad. And she said the best thing about coming out was that no one can insult you by calling you what you just told them that you are. And so for me, I was like, oh, that's kind of like coming out as biracial to black people anyway. Some black people, these aren't blanket statements to lump everybody in one category. But it's like now if I am to say to someone, I'm black and white, then I hope in 5 minutes you don't say, oh my god, you like Amy Grant? That's so white. Yeah, I just said that.
And how this all ties back to Amy Grant is just like beyond me, but right now it seems to have for me to go to that concert, and really I didn't know what to expect, and she said go back to a time when you didn't have as many responsibilities and things were simple and you hadn't had so many disappointments in life, and I thought, oh, that sounds nice. But when I went back to that place and I realized that was almost more complicated because now I have a more integrated identity and I'm not torn up about my race. But back then, I had love, respect, and admiration for black people at the same time as I wanted to be normal, and to me that meant, within the context of my life at the time, being white. And I now see that that's just like a natural teenage, childhood, adolescent thing. But at the time, because these race things are so heavy, that just felt awful. Like I was like, must be such a bad person to feel that way. When I knew that all the stuff that there was about black people really, it had nothing to do really with blackness. And that was a heavy, heavy thing. And I was fat then too. No wonder. Okay, so that old video seems to be a lot longer than I thought. So I'll have to post the rest of the video I made today on a different day. So when you see this shirt again,
It's a video from this day. Thanks for watching. There's going to be a picture that says thanks for watching after this, so that's kind of prematurely redundant.